Kwake ni Salama in Christ Alone, the brand new one by Lydia Ndwiga, a special Easter song, even as we get ready for the Easter season. And right here on Tukuza, we'll be having special Easter services from the 14th to the 16th of April. That is 14th to 16th April. Right here on KTN, we'll be having special Easter services. Lots of guest ministers who will be ministering together with us. So prepare for that as well. Just some of the ministers who will be together with us during the Tukuza Easter. We'll be having Apostle Satvinda. We'll also be having Prophetess Noreen Gasansule. We'll also be having Prophet Eric Buluma together with us. We'll also be having amazing ministers like the Isaac and Imani Odero. The Leviticals will be ministering during the Tukuza Easter. So prepare for that. And if you would like to be part of our live studio audience, you can send Tukuza, you can send an SMS to 0700 574747. That is 0700 574747 if you would like to be part of our studio audience during the Tukuza Easter, which will be happening from the 14th to the 16th of April. And thank you so much for your feedback. On Instagram, I see Eric Mwenda, you're saying you're eagerly waiting for today's teaching on Youth Arise. Thank you very much. Shirwan Ann, unasema uko locked in, asante sana. Achi Belabai, unasema uko locked in as well. Shiruan Ann, unasema you're streaming live from Dallas, Texas. And if you have maybe people in the diaspora, they can stream live via www.ktnkenya.tv. Aliwa, unasema uko locked in, asante sana. Hilary Senero, unasema you guys are looking amazing. Blessed Sunday, asante sana. Emily, Hilary Senero, una watch from Israel, una stream live from Israel. Emily Mwangangi, unasema good morning, asante sana. Selector Jevado, unasema good morning Sadiq, na kucheki from Seti, na unasema show iko juu. Remember to let us know where you're watching us from on our Facebook page Tukuza, our Twitter and Instagram handles at KTN Tukuza. And like we do each and every Sunday, we bring you amazing live transforming testimonies. And Anto is standing by on the other side with our testimony guests for today. Anto.
Thank you very much, DJ Sadiq. Thank you very much. You're looking very good today, as always. And thank you for an opportunity to get to minister to you wherever you are. You know, just giving us an opportunity to get into your living room, wherever you are, in prison, in hospital, so that we can share this message of hope with you. Asante. And we don't take that for granted. God bless you. My name is Anthony Ndiema, and definitely, like we do each and every Sunday, we bring you powerful testimonies. And today we said we are going international. Later on, we'll be having Minister Freke Umo from Nigeria, amazing psalmist. But right about now, we have an international, amazing guy, but he's also very local. His name is Steve Okinyi.
I love it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Bwana asifiwe.
Yes.
Bwana asifiwe.
Amen. Bwana asifiwe.
Bwana asifiwe.
Yeah.
I mean, some friends of mine in the US say it's bananas on the freeway. Bwana asifiwe. Bananas on the freeway. Translation, bananas on the freeway.
Oh,
Bwana
no.
asifiwe.
Praise the Lord.
Good to have you,
Thank
Steve.
you.
And thank you so much for making time
Yeah.
to be with us today and to share your story and your experience. We'll give you an opportunity just to introduce yourself.
Yes.
And then we'll pick it up from where all this started.
Yeah. Well, my name is Steve James. I'm from Alabama in the U.S.
All right.
I'm a nurse anesthetist. I worked in the theater all my life in healthcare.
All right.
And, you know, been a citizen, busy in my community all my life. I became a Christian when I was 24 years old, born again.
Amazing.
And that's the life that I pursued, life in church and community, my community.
Right.
Never traveled a bit, but never to Africa.
All right. And we'll get to know when you first came to Africa. So you basically, you know, kill people and you make them rise again.
Yes.
As an anesthetist.
That's right.
It's a tricky one.
It is.
To pronounce.
Yeah.
All right. So Steve, your story begins And your story, especially with Kenya, begins when your daughter needed to do something here. How did that start?
Yeah, Britney, my middle child,
Right.
as a young child, always cared about people who are suffering and the poor.
Right.
And even as a little girl, she was saved when she was 5 years old.
5 years.
And she was busy all her life caring about people, for the people who were less fortunate.
Right.
It always inspired me. I remember in 1997, Britney woke my wife and I up late one night. She'd watched a television commercial that Christian Children's Fund had put on, and it touched her heart about
Right.
a child in Kenya. And so Britney was only 16, but she got a job. She started sending $24 a month in
Wow.
to support this little Kikuyu boy
Right.
in Naramuru, and they became pen pals.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so Britney, she was always pressing me to take her to Kenya, but you know, as an American who's ignorant about Africa,
yeah.
I thought this is not a safe place, which was so wrong.
Right.
And you know, unfortunately,
The perception sometimes is very interesting. People live on trees, and probably a lot of animals, you know, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you were not very sure about coming to Kenya, right? Then.
Right.
So when were you then convinced that probably I need to do something about Britney and what is happening in Kenya?
Well, you know, you think back in 2001,
Right.
you know, 9/11. The
Oh,
whole
yeah.
world was sitting in front of the television,
That's true.
just not understanding how such a tragedy could happen in the U.S. Even Britney sent me an email. She said, "Daddy, why would people do things like that to one another?" And then 3 days after 9/11, I was in San Francisco with my wife.
Right.
We're driving across the Golden Gate Bridge. I look down at my phone, and it's turned off. I turned it on, and I had missed 26 phone calls.
Wow.
Call home, call home, call home. And I called as I was driving across the bridge, and they were crying, and they something had happened in my family, and they couldn't tell me. And I said, you know, I started yelling, please,
Tell
what's
me
happened?
What's happening? Right.
And my wife was sitting next to me, and they finally told me that my daughter Britney was found dead in her apartment.
Oh. my
And
goodness.
she was a healthy girl, but it was such a shock. You know, anybody that's lost a child knows that
Right.
it's the most tragic thing that can happen.
Me
And
too.
my wife just collapsed in the seat, and I don't really remember much that weekend. We couldn't even fly home because the planes were grounded.
Right.
But it wasn't long, you know, trying to understand why God would allow something like that. It was like He put it in my heart to come meet that little boy that Britney never met.
Right.
So I scheduled a trip to Kenya in 2002.
And I mean, what pushed you was Britney had already started something, and to remember the legacy
Yeah.
and the desire she had to you know, just to support people who are in pain and
Yes.
poor people.
Yes.
You said, let me come to Kenya,
Yeah.
and we are sorry for what happened. and
Yeah. Yeah.
we encourage you. And probably there's a reason why that happened.
Yeah. Of
And
course,
that's
you
why
know.
you're here today.
And I can see that today, you know, but, you know, in that process of knowing, everybody told me not to come.
Right.
You know, don't go to Africa.
Mhm.
But I was going no matter what, you know,
Right.
and so I thought, why not give some anesthesia while I'm here? So
Uh-huh.
I did an internet search, Kenya relief, Kenya hospitals, and I
Uh-huh.
discovered that in Western Kenya, in Migori, there was a little tiny hospital named
Right.
Ojeli
Uh-huh.
that had great needs. And so
Okay.
they invited me to come.
Uh-huh.
So in 2002, I came by myself. I didn't know anyone. I got off the plane here. I was scared to death.
Oh my! So when you landed in Kenya, you didn't know anyone.
Nobody.
Of course, you had a connection to Migori,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you know,
Just
email.
a bit.
Yeah.
A bit of that. So what happened when you landed at the JKIA?
Yeah,
At the airport.
they picked me up in an old car and they drove me took 14 hours to get to
Oh my
Migori.
goodness.
I got there. I worked in a hospital.
All right.
Anthony, I was overwhelmed. You know, in the U.S. we have everything,
Right.
and to see people struggling and suffering like that, it broke my heart. And I knew that God had gifted me all my life to do some things, use my talents and my gifts to help people who were in need.
Right.
So I went home and I found 7 friends to come back with me.
So how long were you in Migori the very first time?
1 week.
1 week.
Yeah. I
And
cried
you've-
and cried and cried.
Because of the suffering
Yes.
and the need.
Yes, sir.
So you went back home and you thought, you know what? I need to go back.
Yeah.
So you got how many friends?
7 the first time.
All right.
And then 20, and then 24.
All right.
Fast forward, we've brought 3,500 people to Kenya, volunteers.
3,000. So the very first time you actually got 7 people.
Yes.
You came
Yes.
together with them.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure they also really felt it, right?
Oh, we have
And they
such
got a burden.
we have great people in America that care about Kenyans.
Amazing.
Thousands and thousands.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's growing every day.
So 20, it grew again.
Yes.
So the highest you guys have actually done is
500.
3,500 people.
We had
All
300
volunteer.
last year.
Last year you had 300.
Mm-hmm.
Coming as a bunch, right?
Yeah, and they all
Together.
volunteer. They save their money. They save their vacation. They're
Wow.
mostly doctors and nurses
All right.
because that's one of the main things we do in Western
Uh-huh.
Kenya is provide health care.
All right.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I just want to pick a bit of your mind. So this time, you guys are saying 300 of us, we're getting into a plane. We are going to Kenya, specifically in Migori, right?
Right.
And for you, you're going to treat people. That's your number one agenda.
Right.
What did you feel when you landed in Kenya? And I'm sure some of those people had never come here before.
Yeah.
What was your feeling? Did you feel God is doing something through me and through all these people?
Well, I knew that I had to live differently.
Right.
There's a book written by Richard Stearns, the CEO of World Vision.
Right.
He says that there's a hole in the gospel in
Mhm.
America.
Right.
I was involved in church. I went to church every time the door opened. I led a men's group. I led a children's group.
Right.
But I was unaware
Uh-huh.
that people around the world were in such need.
Mhm.
So it was never a doubt in my mind that I was supposed to be here and that I was supposed to bring people to help.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and we'll be taking a short break in a bit and then coming to just see what are some of the things you're doing
Okay.
right here. But before we take that break, Steve Okinyi, your wife
Mm-hmm.
in all this, what was her part?
What was her path?
Yes, her part.
Well, she came to Kenya. She's been 7 or 8 times.
Right.
I've been 55 times.
Oh, 55 times.
Right. And it was my wife that started our orphanage in Migori.
All right.
Yeah, so she was very instrumental in everything that we did.
All right.
She supports me in
Mhm.
everything that I do. I travel a lot.
Right.
I go everywhere I can to spread the word about
Mhm.
the needs in Kenya and
Right.
and to network and to meet people.
All right.
So, she knew that Britney's presence
Mhm.
was felt and was
Right.
there,
Right.
and it's been very, very difficult for
Mhm.
her and me,
Alright.
but we know that we're doing what God's called us to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
We take a short break, a music break. We'll be back in just a bit. And we'll want to understand, just hear from Steve again. What are they doing in the orphanage? One. What are they doing, especially with the people who are ill, specifically? And another thing we'll want to understand, which is a huge burden to him today, is peace efforts. And something amazing happened yesterday when they were in Migori. We'll want to understand all that and why it is important for you to be a part of this and to be a blessing to someone. Christ died, and this April we are celebrating Easter. He actually came and gave everything. So we have a role and we have an opportunity to give as well. When we come back right here on Tukuza, don't go away. Her name is Rebecca Dawn. Amazing music. The song is known as Maneno. As you can see, she's white, but she speaks beautiful Swahili. Her parents have been here for a long time as missionaries with the Lighthouse Church. And just got married the other day with a guy called Alan, fresh guy. And she's doing great music. Thank you very much, Rebecca Dawn. And it's right here on Tukuza. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, you can get in touch with us. Later on, we'll be having, the young guy. He's a pastor, Jimmy Glory. He'll be sharing with us and praying together with us. So if you have any prayer requests, you want us to pray together, probably. Thank you very much. There are people who are watching from prison, in hospital, and there's a desire you have in your heart. We'll pray together, and we believe that God will come through for you, even as you desire and you engage, the gear of faith to receive from Him. And later on, we have Minister Freke Umo coming to share, just about his music journey and what will be happening this afternoon at the Purpose Center. But right about now, like we mentioned earlier, we are having Mr. Steve Okinyi, or Steve James, all the way from Alabama in the United States, sharing a very powerful testimony. After the 911, their daughter Britney passed on. And because she had started doing something in Kenya, Mr. Steve decided, you know what, I'm going to Kenya because there's a legacy that my daughter left, and I want to continue with this. The moment he came, he was here for 1 week. That changed his life entirely because of the suffering he saw in Migori. Went back to the US, came back with 7 people, 20, at one point last year, 300, and so far they've had about 35,000 people who've come just to help. And a lot of the people are from, the medics, doctors and so on, and 3,500.
Yes.
Not 35,000, 3,500. And they're doing an amazing job. It's kenyarelief.org. So we want to continue listening to this story. And so, James, Steve, so you keep coming and you keep coming to Kenya. So for you, you've been here 55 times.
Yes.
In a span of how many years?
15 years this week.
15 years this week. 55 times.
Yes.
So it's an average of about 4-5 times every year.
Yes, sir.
Did you leave what you're doing to do this specifically?
I did. About 4 years. I tried to run the organization and work at this, put bread on the table. But about 4 years ago, I was blessed by our board to allow me to work full time. So
great.
Now I work full time.
Full time.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
And so you have done so much in Kenya. You have an orphanage. And your wife runs that orphanage. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we have. We started off with 2 children, Victor and Stancy, and those were children that I met on my first trip. Actually, I met the father who was dying from HIV/AIDS, and he begged me to help his children. And I left. I couldn't. My pockets were empty at that time, and I prayed for this family. I found out a year later the father passed as well, and so we decided to start the orphanage, Britney's Home of Grace. We took Victor and Stancy, and today we have 194 children in our program, total orphans.
Wow. Total orphans.
Yes.
And it's a full program. They stay within.
Yes.
You take them to school.
It's a holistic program.
Right.
We provide spiritual nourishment for them. We provide health care, education, even higher education. We have 10 in university right now.
Oh, great.
Very proud of them.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then, of course, from that, we started Kenya Relief Academy 3 years ago.
All right.
And so we have 594 students, or 575 now.
575.
With 400 on the waiting list.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
To get into the university.
Right. Well, to get into our school.
Oh, to get into their school.
Yeah.
And James, a lot of people, when they see you, they think this guy has a lot of money. This guy has, millions of dollars, and that's why he can be able to do this. Is that right?
If you could see my bank account, you'd be surprised.
Wow.
No, we spend our money, and all that on projects, on helping the poor.
Right.
And it's all donations. We're a 501c3 in the U.S. and we're an NGO here in Kenya.
Right.
So we don't hold on to money. If we get it, we help someone.
All right.
In Kenya.
You get it, you give it to someone.
Absolutely.
You don't buy Bentleys and those kinds of things. What makes you do that deep down in your heart? What makes you just keep helping and keep supporting?
Well,
someone?
of course, my daughter drives me. My integrity in the organization is strong because of her, because I wouldn't want to dishonor her. But as a Christian, I feel like it's my call as a believer to use the gifts and talents that God has given me. But I began to understand some things as a Christian. All human beings are created in the image of God.
That's right.
And I believe that's an essential part or value that Kenya Relief has. And that, like, even the peace conference we had this week,
Right.
we had 1,200 people, a cross-section from the county. We had every denomination present.
Amazing.
We had women's groups, young children. We had 2 imams were there. And I'm so proud to say that Kenya Relief doesn't see a person, the color of their skin, or their religious background. Now, yes, we're a faith-based group,
Right.
but you can't conquer these problems in Africa if you don't have, if you know, Rick Warren's wife, Kay Warren, told me long ago. She said it's time that Christians start being known for what they believe in,
Right.
and not what they're against.
I like that.
And that's the way I like to live. And that's what Kenya Relief tries to integrate into our work.
Right.
Yes.
All right. So the medics, and we'll talk a bit as we wind up about peace and
Yes.
why we need to be
Yes, sir.
one people. The medics who've come here, and I mean many of them. What do you specifically do? Do you hold camps? And give me an instance of 1 or 2 instances where you have seen people really get transformed and that has touched your heart.
Well, we've treated 125,000 Kenyans, and not just from Magori. They come from Eldoret, they come from Kisumu.
Right.
They come because we bring high-quality surgeons. And it's not just American surgeons. We work with Kenyan surgeons.
All
we work
right.
with all the hospitals in Magori County, collaborate with them. We have doctors from Tenwick that come and work by our side.
Right.
So it's an interaction with people. We're fortunate to offer several specialties. We do cataract surgery. We've
Right.
taken off hundreds and hundreds of very large goiters. We do pediatric surgery. Our goal is to bring the same quality of health care that we have in America and that we have
Right.
at Karen, that we have at Kenyatta, and to
Nairobi
spread that
Hospital and
around.
elsewhere.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And that has been amazing. What happens when you see people coming with goiter and and leaving when they're okay? That gladdens your heart.
Well, just last month when I was here with a team from New York,
Right.
there was a lady named Helen who came in who had a goiter bigger than a watermelon.
Oh my.
It was gigantic. And she
Right.
had it 20 years. She could barely breathe. It was so heavy. And we removed the entire thing. And when it was over with, she just said, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I mean, the people in Kenya are so grateful when you help them. I
That's
remember
true.
a woman who had cataract surgery. She was blind in both eyes.
Wow.
And after the surgery, she prayed for me for 15 minutes.
Amazing.
She just kept saying, Edakamano, Edakamano,
Erokamano,
over
Erokamano.
again.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Amen.
how could you not do this?
I know.
It's it's great.
You just want to do it again and again.
Yeah, I'm coming back in July.
All right.
Yeah, we're gonna do some more goiters.
All
Yeah,
right.
and I'm going home. When I leave here, I'm going to Detroit. I'm going to California, and I'm telling the people about the needs in Kenya.
Right.
Yeah.
And the importance of them supporting. I mean, there's something deep in your heart, and this is about peace
Yes, sir.
in this nation. And it's something, I mean, like you mentioned earlier yesterday, you had an amazing meeting, 1,200 people just speaking about peace.
Yes.
Where has that come from? I mean, and of course for you, it was really about the needs beyond the peace.
Well, I feel like my job is to see what the needs are. What
Right.
are the needs in Kenya, and how can I help?
All
And
right.
our team was here in 2007, and it's very difficult to recruit Americans when you have those kind of things going on.
All
Because they want to believe the worst. But
That's true.
my job is to convince them that it's safe, and I believe it is. But I don't want to see that happen again.
That's true.
There was Hubert Humphrey said that you don't measure the way that you measure the greatness of a nation is by the way that they treat the weakest people in their country. And who are those people? It's your children. It's our
Right.
children. It's
That's
those in prison, as you said. It's the sick, those that live in the shadows of life. And so, I want to continue that. Kenya is prospering. I've seen so much change since
Right.
devolution,
Right.
and I'm so proud of the changes that are taking place across the country. And there's in the book of Isaiah, there's a scripture that talks about the lion laying down with the lamb.
Right.
I was in the Masai Mara yesterday.
Uh-huh.
Lions don't lay down with lambs.
Oh, they don't.
But God says that it's possible. You
Oh,
know, in
yeah.
heaven we'll see that.
Right.
But that doesn't mean we're supposed to sit idle.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
wisdom in that passage.
All right.
It talks about understanding. It talks about respect for other
Mhm.
human beings.
Right.
And so I think we can do that.
Amazing. We will be winding up in just a bit. And as we wind up, Steve, there are a lot of people who are watching. Some of them are in suffering. Some of them are blessed. And they're Kenyan. Some of them are streaming live from wherever in this world. And I want you to impress on them why it is important for them to be a blessing to someone else.
Yeah.
Why that is very fulfilling.
Yeah.
And then we'll wind up.
Yeah. Well, you know, as I sit right here in this beautiful part of Nairobi, it reminds me of my home.
Right.
Where it's such a beautiful place. But, you know, greatness is not great roads. It's not big buildings. It's what you do with your life. It's how you affect another human being's life. So, you know, I never thought I'd lose a child. I found myself in someone else's in shoes I didn't want to be in. And sickness and poverty can affect any human being. And so, you know, it is our responsibility. No man is an island. And I think the purpose and the fulfillment that you get when you give back things that God has given you is priceless. So, you know, I wish people would wake up and realize that the reason they have so much is because they're supposed to give back.
All right.
Yeah.
And blessed is the hand that gives than the one that receives. And there's a beautiful secret about giving. Every time you give, you keep receiving.
Yeah.
And you keep, you just keep receiving and receiving, and selflessness is thrown out of the window, and you become a better person.
Yes.
So, Steve, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for making time to be here today
Yes.
and to share your powerful story and what you're doing in Kenya. So what do we expect probably in the next, when you come back in July and in the days to come?
Well, we just started construction on our new cafeteria that will seat 1,000 children.
Oh, great.
We're expanding our hospital now to provide a long-term in-service, long-term care, comprehensive care, so
Right.
that people don't have to travel to Nairobi for care. They can get care in Western Kenya that they
Amazing.
need. But there's so much more.
Right.
Wow. I hope Kenya Relief spreads all over.
All over.
But we need help from Kenyans.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Great.
So come to kenyarelief.org.
All right. So that's the site,
Yes, sir.
kenyarelief.org
Yes.
or .org. If you need to support, if you need to hold someone's hand and say, you know what, I know someone who suffers.
Yes.
I need to be a blessing to them. And we are blessed. We are blessed to be a blessing. So kenyarelief.org or .org, that's the site to check, and you'll be able to be a blessing. Thank you so much.
Anthony, I want to come back.
You want to come back?
Yes.
Definitely.
Thank you.
In fact, what we'll do when you come back in July,
Yes.
one of the Sundays, we'll want to come and do this live
Okay.
in Migori,
Okay.
so that we can actually see what is happening, and we can be a blessing to those people. And we'll not just come to shoot, we'll come with what we have to be a blessing to them as well.
Yes.
Regards to your wife, regards to the entire family, and the people you meet back in the United States. And we wish you a safe flight as you go back tomorrow.
Well, God bless you, Anthony.
Bless
Your great
you.
work.
Asante sana. That was Steve Okinyi. You can also call him Steve James from kenyarelief.org or .org, sharing an amazing testimony about her daughter and why, the late daughter, and why she had to come to Kenya to be a blessing to someone. You too can be a blessing to someone, especially this month of Easter as we celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Matthew chapter 28 verse 6, he is risen. He is no longer in the grave. He is alive. He is risen. When we come back, we'll be having Pastor Jimmy Glory sharing, a young pastor, and